All right, let's get this thing started. Hey everyone, welcome to the long-awaited press conference regarding the farmer component here, or potential farmer component to be included in 45Z. We have USDA rules, we have an updated calculator, we have tremendous clarity here on how 45Z could look, waiting for some additional action from the Department of Energy and the IRS, but the details are here. It's been a long time coming, and thank you to everybody who stuck with us. Thank you to everybody that helped contribute and encourage. This has been almost 4 years that we have been working on this, developing systems, educating, building awareness, getting things ready and in position, and now thank God it's happening. It's coming through. It looks good, and we're ready to rock and roll. So, wild. Today's been an interesting day. Appreciate everyone that's reached out already, and we got a lot of work to do here now to see this thing through. So, exciting stuff. Without further ado, let's dig in. So, for anyone that is new to this, I'm Mitchell Hora. I'm a farmer in Southeast Iowa, and I'm the founder and CEO here at Continuum Ag. I first became aware of the 45Z program right after the Inflation Reduction Act passed, which was in August of 2022. I became aware of this 45Z program and that farmers may have a seat at the table through scoring their carbon intensity through the GREET model. I went and downloaded that Feedstock calculator, ran my score, and determined that farmers trying to calculate their carbon intensity by themselves through this model is going to be complicated. Plus, there would have to be audits and verification and real data, real systems. So Continuum Ag went full bore into delivering all that. And what we'll talk about today is the verification protocols and the details about farmer data collection, farmer and feedstock CI scoring, and tracing that feedstock through the supply chain. And it's all the systems that Continuum has been building for the last 4 years, investing tons of time and money into. And now we're in perfect alignment to really blow this thing up. So interesting stuff. So what happened today is that the USDA released the technical guidelines for the production of regenerative agricultural biofuel feedstocks, aka the Biofuel Feedstock CI rule. It's the measurement, reporting, and verification protocol. It is a final rule, so there's no additional next steps from the USDA side of things. There are next steps within 45Z at large that the IRS will have to integrate these rules. The Department of Energy will have to integrate the feedstock calculator. In the current IRS rule, they do say that they intend to integrate this in. So, but that's the next step. So the IRS, Department of Energy, they'll have to integrate this stuff over the coming months. But now we have the details. What it did, a couple high-level takeaways, and happy to discuss a bunch of the details and throw all of the questions and whatnot in the Q&A. We'll get to a bunch of them. But what it did is this updated feedstock calculator is specific to corn, soybeans, sorghum, and spring canola. Under the IRS 45Z rules, they indicate a bunch of different feedstocks could be applicable, but they won't have a feedstock calculator at this point, at least if it's just this USDA calculator that's adopted. Corn, soybeans, sorghum, spring canola. That's it. In this deal, the calculator is pretty good, a lot better than the USDA beta version of the calculator, which came out in January of 2025, and it was just too simplified and too much of a rush job. What this calculator now does is it's field by field. It factors in your county and your state, so location, just like before. It factors in your actual field yield, and it does have a concept of a expected yield as well. And then it asks total synthetic nitrogen applied. So we got to gather total fertilizer, and it's not check the box of spring only, split applied, no fault. There's none of those check boxes. It is how many total units did you apply, and then we'll of course have to document every single fertilizer application pass. And in the details, it lays out you have to have receipts or shape files or some type of evidence exactly like Continuum has already been collecting from the very beginning. So, yield data field by field, fertilizer practices field by field with evidence, and it does give a credit for using nitrification inhibitors. And what it asks is on what percent of your nitrogen do you use a nitrification inhibitor? So it is looking at the use of nitrification inhibitors, and then it gives a list. I've got it wrote down. So in order to be a qualifying nitrification inhibitor, you must be on the list put out by the Association of American Plant Food Control Officers. So it's a public list. We will have it. We'll make sure that it's available for folks that are wanting to claim that they are using a nitrification inhibitor. But biologicals are not mentioned. Other types of stabilizers not mentioned. It's these approved nitrification inhibitors. And from our analysis of the CI calculator so far, improving the rate of total fertilizer that you're putting on in accordance to your yield, aka your nutrient use efficiency, it is extremely important in this calculation. So this is what we were pushing for the most part, meaning have farmers define their actual fertilizer use, their actual yield, and reward efficiency. How you get there, that's on you. You got a specialty biological that you use, you got a specialty fertilizer product that you use, that's on you. Continuum will have to document all of that, or you'll have to document that in our topsoil software, provide the evidence, but it all boils down to how much fertilizer are you putting on, how much yield are you getting out. Farmer creativity, figure out how to do it as efficient as you can. I love it. There's a benefit in here, of course, for cover crops. We knew that was going to be the case. The only change on the cover crop side of things is that you can graze your cover crop as well. If you are grazing the cover crop, they don't give you quite as much credit because I assume they're figuring you're losing some of that carbon. The cattle are consuming part of it and some of it's being emitted or whatnot. But cover crop alone does give a good credit. We were playing around with our score here in Washington County, and cover crop is like 9 CI points. So pretty dang good. Maybe not quite as amazing as some of the old calculators, but cover crop, absolutely a big driver. And again, you can graze. They did not change anything about the details of what is or isn't a cover crop. So winter kill is still applicable. You can use diverse cover crops, single species, whatever. You just have to abide by your local guidelines for planting date, planting rate, termination, and whatnot. You cannot till your cover crop. You got to spray it off, graze it off, crimp it, mow it. You cannot burn the residue or till it in and get the credit for it. So then it has tillage, and tillage is the same as what it was in the old versions. Are you no-till, reduced till, or conventional, or something else? The one thing that they did change is how you define what tillage practice you are. In the old USDA rule, they used the STIR calculator, which stands for the Soil Tillage Intensity Rating. Now they replaced STIR calculator with the T-DISC calculator, which is the Tillage Disturbance Index for soil carbon. Continuum will figure out how to handle this on our side. On the farmer piece, what you will do is just, again, go into topsoil and define your actual tillage practice that you're doing. I'm not overly worried that this changed that much. You still have no-till, reduced till, and then conventional or everything else. It did specifically say that your fertilizer application does not count as tillage. It did specifically say that strip till is allowed in under a no-till program, as long as your overall rating in this T-disc rating, as long as it's not too high, strip till likely would still be able to qualify under no-till. They were specific about no broad acre, broad tillage across the whole area. So that was one of the deals. So no-till, reduced till, conventional till, and reducing tillage is of course a big driver of your CI. And then manure is in there as well, which is huge because the old USDA calculator didn't even have manure in it. Manure doesn't give you quite as amazing of a CI reduction as in the Department of Energy's feedstock calculator, but it still is a good thing. So yield, fertilizer rates and nutrient efficiency, nitrogen stabilizer, cover crop, no-till or reduced till, manure, those are all in there, all drivers here. And the default score changed a little as well, and each plant will have a little bit different conversion ratios and stuff, but the one that we use, the default corn score is now 27.4, and the corn, so that it used to be 29.1 in the old Department of Energy calculator. I believe the USDA version 1 of this, it was like 28.6 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe they brought the default down just a little bit. So now it's about a 27.4. So why that's important for farmers and the biofuel producers in general is, if this holds true, the default that the ethanol plant will use is now lower. So that may help them without even bringing in farmer data by lowering the CI at the default just a little bit. And then the farmer reduction, now you're reducing from a lower default. So it's not 29 minus U equals the reduction that you create. Now it's this 27.4 minus the farmer equals the reduction that you've generated. So that is that's something important to note. We will have all those calculations and stuff, of course, put together. And I'll go into some of the details of some different counties and stuff, seeing some questions on that coming in. And then other than that, field by field, verification stuff are still the same. There's a lot of details in here about the attestations and the data tracking and all that. It's everything that Continuum has already been doing. So CI certification, same thing that we've always been doing, is spot on. So now the other big one, mass balance versus book and claim. And this is the one key issue item that I have with this. They kept with mass balance. We were pushing aggressively for book and claim, and actually they note in here, because they talk about all of the comments that they received. And from the preliminary rule, they received like 114 public comments, written comments. And of the 114, 60 of the comments made comments regarding book and claim versus mass balance. Of the 60 people that made a comment about traceability, 75% of them wanted book and claim, and only 25% of them wanted mass balance. And what the USDA cited in here is that they weren't aware of the infrastructure and they didn't have the infrastructure, the registries or whatever put together for book and claim, so they're going to go with mass balance and not change it. They did say that they would be open to changing it in the future, and I think we're going to have to prove that, hey, we are ready for book and claim. It actually is going to be way better. But yes, right now, this rule is mass balance. So what does that mean? Mass balance means that you have to deliver your crop into the biofuel supply chain to qualify for 45Z. So this is bad for livestock, bad for farmers that aren't close to an ethanol plant, bad for farmers that are exporting their crops. You have to deliver your crop into the biofuel supply chain. That can either be to a elevator who then is going to sell it to a biofuel producer, or sell it directly to a biofuel producer, but you have to have your feedstock or your crop in the biofuel supply chain. And when you sell the crop, you're selling the CI certificates with it, and that is all laid out in the details of this. I don't like it. I think it's not as good for the farmers, but farmers who, and it's livestock farmers, we need to have conversations about how do we prepare and what are we going to do. We've been battling tooth and nail to get them to use book and claim, put in all the evidence, and they even said 75% of the comments were use book and claim, don't use mass balance. But still, it's mass balance. So if your 2025 harvested crop has already been sold to a biofuel producer or can be sold to a biofuel producer, you got to rock and roll. It's time. And game on. Let's do it. For 2026 crop, we got to be thinking about change and where this grain is going. It's going to be extremely disruptive to the grain supply chain. We lobbied for this. We advocated and told them it's going to be disruptive. And now mass balance is the current words on the page. Now maybe we can get the IRS to allow for book and claim, but we can't bank on that for now. So for now, we have to go with the understanding of if you delivered your crop to a biofuel producer or can, 45Z's for you. And this is gonna really impact things, I think. So what the rule says as well is that you have to undergo the audit at the first point of aggregation, which is the first time that the crop is sold. Okay, and I specifically just looked into this because on my own farm, I have my own farms. My dad has his own farms, and he owns his corn. I own my corn, but our corn goes in the same grain bins. So I specifically looked, do we have to get our own audit done specifically at our facility and mass balance our own facility? And the answer is no. And it's no, because that grain has not actually changed ownership or changed possession. I harvested X number of bushels of corn. I still own X number of bushels of corn. Therefore, I still own the associated CI data. And when my corn gets sold, then my CI data goes with it. Same as Dad's. And our CIs are separate, and it is all field by field. However, if you are selling your crop or if you're producing your crop and selling it to an elevator or selling it to an ethanol plant, and they want to claim that it is low CI, then it has to undergo the audits. Okay, now you can, and what you have to do is you have to get, they call it a biofuel feedstock report. We call it a CI certificate. It's the same thing, same process, and it is very clear in this document that you have to document field by field activities. Planting, fertilizer, tillage, cover crop, fertilizer, manure, everything. We got to document every single application across the field. Continuum Ag, that's what we've been doing. We call it CI certification. We've been charging $7 an acre. At this point, we haven't looked at changing anything. And it's field by field audits. It's getting audited every year. And when you sell the crop, you sell the biofuel feedstock report with it, the CI data, and now they own it. There is a lot of details about the attestations and what goes into a biofuel feedstock report. Lots of those details. Continuum has all that stuff taken care of. But yeah, overall, this is a huge step forward. Tremendous clarity on what we needed. This actually can happen for farmers. Like, this actually is moving in a great direction. Hopefully we can fix this so that the livestock industry isn't negatively impacted, by allowing for book and claim. But at this point, farmers and biofuel producers, it's time for us to come together to go after this thing. And The IRS did indicate that this could go back to last year's fuel, therefore 2024 crop. I think that's out of the picture here. This is just 2025 crop that's going into 2026 biofuel. It's got to get verified, got to undergo the audits if the plant is wanting to claim the 45Z credits. A bunch of questions and stuff in here I want to get to, but remember, for everybody that's listening, the biofuel producers, they are now able to calculate what their plant level CI score is going to be, because the updated GREET 45Z calculator just came live a couple weeks ago. But remember that the ethanol plants need to get to these next steps or next tiers. The CI score is rounded. So the ethanol plant is not just going to buy your one-off farmer data. They have to have enough volume of farmers to move the weighted average so that they get to these next steps. So what I'm saying is, don't go hounding on your ethanol plants. There's not going to be any money move hands here anytime soon. I think there may be some plants that start, in the coming months. I hope that they will, but there's still rules to come from the IRS. There is calculations and assessments and steps that have to happen. This is not just going to be a free-for-all right out the gate. But what is clear is that farmers have to go through field level verification. Each facility has to undergo the audits. That's what Continuum does. We're happy to help you with that and partner with you and use our software to get you through that. We've already passed these audits. We are ready to rock and roll. And we're in position now that we don't have to change much with our MRV protocol. So we're ready to rock and get significant number of bushels through the audits. We'll prioritize 2025 bushels before we look to 2026 bushels, but you can purchase 2026 CI certification right now in topsoil as well. I think Diana put the link in there. Yeah, topsoil.ag. Now remember that the CI score on topsoil today, and it says, but it's from the Department of Energy calculator. We got to give us a couple days to update and allow and integrate this new USDA calculator. And we'll let everyone know as soon as that happens, and we'll put out a notice so you can go and compare your old score versus new one. Now, what you can do, Diana put in the chat as well, if you would like for our guys to help you run your CI score, we're happy to do that for you. And you can go online and you can download it as well. But the best thing would be to go onto Topsoil, create an account, fill out your farm profile, and it'll calculate your score with the old calculator, and then we can use that data to more easily calculate your updated score using this USDA calculator. So, and then that data is already there. It's ready to go, and we'll push that out. So it's looking good. It's looking good. We have ethanol. I've got conversations going on with the ethanol plants and whatnot. I do think that there will be some plants that look forward to working with farmers on this. I think that there's going to be some tremendous opportunity here. And let me explain, some of what we're seeing from a data perspective, because there are some significant CI reductions that we're seeing from our farmers. Let me pull up the right thing here. So, okay, a couple things, and then I'll go and do a bunch of questions. So we ran some example scores of the old calculator in topsoil versus the new old score versus new score. In southeast North Dakota, one of the farmers there who's doing cover crop and reduced till and pretty low fertilizer, this farmer went from a score of 18.5 to now 13.4. So southeast North Dakota, their scores actually got better. Eastern South Dakota, this guy was no cover crop and conventional tillage, and his score is a little bit below the default. And from the old calculator versus this USDA one, no change. So that looks good. in eastern South Dakota, if this farmer were to convert from what he's doing today, no-till, or no cover crop and full tillage. So this guy's a full conventional farmer. If he were to go to cover crop and no-till, his score would go from a 23 to a 5. Okay, so in eastern South Dakota, that would create about 22 CI points of reduction, helping the plant move up to 4 stair steps in this deal. So that is tremendous opportunity if farmers are going to adopt more of these practices. That farmer in southeast North Dakota I was talking about, that today with cover crop and reduced till is at an 18. If he would just add no till instead of reduced till, his score would go from a 13.4 down to a 1.8. Okay, so in southeast North Dakota, no till versus reduced till, we're showing a 12-point difference. That's a big deal. Here in southeast Iowa, on my farm, so Dad's old CI score in the current Department of Energy calculator, we were about a 0.8. Now under this one, same practices, we're cover cropping, no tilling, low fertilizer. Now our score is a 6.7. So our farm score actually got a little worse under this calculator. So we're at a 6.7 right now, which in the different scenarios we ran is pretty dang low. We're not using manure. Manure would be the one thing that could help us lower this score even more. Here's one in northeast Missouri where they were cover cropping and no tilling. In the old calculator, they were 7.7 CI. Now with this new one, they're 3.9. So northeast Missouri, that score got a little better. One that stands out that got significantly worse. Now, this is a one-off thing, but northwest Wisconsin, this grower was cover cropping and was reduced till and has manure. So reduced till versus no till, if you're catching the trend, that's a big difference. But this guy, cover crop, reduced till, and manure. In the old calculator, he was a 9.4, pretty good score. In this calculator, a 20.3. So northwest Wisconsin got hammered in this new USDA calculator. However, if that farmer goes to no-till, that would likely be the big opportunity to reduce. And again, remember, they said that injecting fertilizer, that doesn't necessarily count as a standalone tillage pass, or as so there's nuances and whatnot like that. But anyway, county by county, a lot of individual nuances. Can we run a quick assessment in here? Maybe so for Carolyn, if you guys are listening, to see what about some of the other places. Joel was asking, what about Kentucky? That did get fixed before, but what about what about some of the other states and stuff as well? I think so far we've just ran some of the main ones, maybe New York and Kentucky. Okay, ready to get into a bunch of questions, I think. But overall with this, farmers, we've got updated data. We need to get verified and undergo these audits if you are delivering into the biofuel industry. Biofuel producers, we will be in contact. Would love to talk with you, that we have all the software and systems to help you undergo these audits. It's ISO 14065, just like before. The accreditation, everything we already have set up with our auditors. We're ready to rock and roll. So some really interesting stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for it. There's a variety of other details and different nuances and whatnot, but I think that I got the gist of it so far. So let's go into you guys' questions here. So Anonymous just entered a score from a farmer I work with from before I looked to today's Feedstock calculator, 42% reduction in the score. Could this calculator be any more friendly to producers? Wow, yeah, I mean, definitely looks good. So this piece does not have the indirect land use change or any of that in it at all. This is just based on farmer practices. And then this score would end up getting integrated at the biofuel producer. And again, that rule still has to happen later. Does the FTCIC apply to any crops outside of the U.S.? I did not play with it outside of the U.S. Let me see if I can change that quick. This just says state, so it looks like no. It looks like this calculator is U.S. only. It does have a in the state drop down. It does have a none, so maybe we can do that. If you want to send me a note, we can maybe play around with it. But yeah, definitely appears to be limited just to the U.S. and limited again to corn, soy, sorghum, and spring canola. Jaden, thanks for hopping on, buddy. The county by county oddities, it does look like the one county to the next got sorted out, but let's follow up and do that, or maybe Soph and Carolyn look at some of those counties up, especially in North Dakota that we were seeing before. That one county versus the other was having issues. I believe it's fixed because this calculator is based on decent. So some of you will remember that early, like a couple versions of the calculator ago, it was based on the century model, and the century model did not account for soil carbon reductions in every county. It omitted a lot of counties. And like in North Dakota, some counties did account for soil carbon and some counties did not. And that created massive differences depending on what side of the county line you were on. Now, this calculator is based on decent, and what we've seen when the old calculator updated to decent, it fixed the problem. So I'm pretty sure it is fixed here as well. But we'll have to run some specifics to account for that. But Jaden, I'm pretty sure you're in the clear since it's based on decent. Again, this went live just a couple hours ago, so I have read through the entire 101 page rules, but I haven't ran every single scenario here yet. But Myron, how will establishing a cover crop with a vertical till and roll in the fall be looked at? Should be okay. I do the same thing, and what'll happen is we will have to look at how does that factor into this T-disc calculation, this tillage disturbance index. So in the T-disc is where we will know for sure, but at this point it looks like that should be fine. And like I said, it had kind of a carve out for nutrient applications, and it has this T-disc calculator to give us for certain, but it should be fine, but we will confirm. How significantly will mass balance limit how many farmers will benefit? Substantially, because now you have to deliver your crop into the biofuel supply chain. I think this is going to be a major problem. And on my own farm, for example, I would like to sell my crop to my local hog producer, and now if I want to tap into 45Z, I can't sell to my local hog producer. I have to sell it to the ethanol plant. This is going to increase my trucking cost by about 16 cents a bushel, but my CI score is good enough that I think it's going to be worth it for me to do that. But I don't necessarily want to, and it's going to increase the cost to that local hog producer to compete. I sure hope that we can get this changed, but they went with mass balance, so it is the farmers that are selling into biofuel either direct or, again, to an elevator. Those are the farmers that need to pursue this. So elevators, like I said, hey, we have the software that you can use. Refer your farmers to get verified through our system, and then we associate that verified CI data to the scale tickets or integrate that CI data into your systems, where you calculate your mass balanced CI scores for that crop that you are then selling to the ethanol plants. So elevators, you are a point of aggregation. You have to undergo an annual audit based on all of the data that you integrate. So using a software like ours, we help you to do that. But yeah, this has to be audited. We have to get all the feedstock data field by field, and then each point of aggregation has to undergo the audit. But once you have that biofuel feedstock report, it follows all the way through. So farmers, once you've been audited, you should be good. But that's also why we collect all the data in topsoil, and it's there and protected. One of the things that the rules do say is farmers, you have to maintain records for 5 years. Okay? You have to maintain all these records, all these claims for 5 years. That's again why I'm glad that we have invested so much in building this software where the farmer owns their agronomic data. The agronomic data does not need to be passed along into the supply chain, just the biofuel feedstock report, which is the field information, a unique ID for the field, an attestation, a CI score, and that in the verification report has to be associated with that. So agronomic data does not need to pass through the biofuel feedstock report. Again, we call it a CI certificate. That is what gets passed through. And farmers, it is a bunch of data that you got to collect. It's everything that farmers that have been using topsoil already. Basically going to be the same process. There's very little that we have to adjust for because of this, and we're ready to rock and roll. But documenting every practice field by field, supplying evidence, that is all has to be there, and it has to be maintained for 5 years. And we're ready to do that. We're set up. Doesn't bother us to hold on to it. Enter the data once, it's there, and suffices what's required, and there we go. So okay, getting some notes from my guys. So the audit does not mean that each farmer goes through an audit. Okay, so let me clarify this. So how that works is farmers enter their data into topsoil, Continuum Ag verifies and issues the biofuel feedstock report or CI certificates. So farmers add their data into topsoil. We are the verifier. Continuum gets audited by a third party. And then they do an assessment of all the farmers that we've put together and aggregated. They run a risk assessment. They will then end up choosing a portion of the farmers to actually go and do site visits with. We did this 2 years ago. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so that's important here. So farmers, by getting verified through CI certification, our process, it actually lowers the chances that you end up having an auditor come out to your farm. And remember, this is a independent company, not government coming out and auditing. It is a auditor that is accredited to ISO 14065. So it's the same audit process that we put together before. But yes, very important point that farmers, you have to document your practices and supply evidence for every activity in every field, and Continuum reviews and verifies you. Then we get audited, and a portion of the farmers will have site visits. It's not too scary, and we've done it before, and we're ready to do it at scale now. And that's all included in the CI certification price that we do. Who will pay for the audit, buyer or seller? Really good question, Jackie. Thanks for hopping on. Under this, I mean, it could be either one. It doesn't matter. It just says that you have to undergo these audits at each point of aggregation, and you have to generate a biofuel feedstock report, and there you go. It didn't change anything to the old rule. I need to review the initial USDA report, but what it had said is that if you have already created your verified biofuel feedstock report, and it was audited by an accredited auditor, that biofuel feedstock report does not have to be re-audited. Okay, what that means is, farmer, if you have proactively been verified and Continuum issued you your verified CI certificates, you don't have to be re-audited as you go through the supply chain. Now, you got your data, you've been audited. When you sell the corn, you sell the data with it, and we have the infrastructure to do that and the traceability with our partners at Millpond. So that data goes with the corn. It's already been audited, doesn't have to undergo getting re-audited because that data is already there. The auditors can see that report, and the auditors at the next point of aggregation, they can choose to utilize that accredited report and not have to re-audit things. So that should cut down on costs, should be able to get more value to the farm gate, and make this easier for everybody. So now how we do it, like I said, farmer can be proactively audited. We charge $7 an acre. Or, hey, if an elevator, if you want to do this on behalf of your farmers, we can handle that. And you just pay us a couple of cents a bushel. We'll collect all the farmer data, and the elevator can pay the fee. Or ethanol plant. If you would like to cover the cost of getting the farmers audited, it's a couple cents a bushel. It's not a huge deal, especially for the upside in value created, and it can happen really quick too. We've proven that out. So, but yeah. So either way, we know that at each point of aggregation, you have to undergo an annual audit. That was clear. That's required under mass balance. And the data goes back to the field level. And we want to be proactive to make sure that that is there and already verified, and it's gone through audit from the very beginning. That's going to be the best way to avoid risk, avoid any issues, and make this easier on everybody. It's a benefit to the farmer delivering 25 or 26 crop to biofuel plant when DOE and Treasury still need to do their part to adopt this 45Z? Yeah, it's a great question. So right now, there are plenty of ethanol plants. If I'm them, I would be maybe like talking with some farmers, trying to line up who has undergone the audits, who's getting their data put together, and be ready, or maybe signing letters of intent with farmers or something like that you intend to buy their feedstock data. But if you want to wait until the 45Z rule is 100% done, which is, I don't think it'll happen in this calendar year. I think it'll be after the first of the year. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they will do part of this quickly, but this is all taken so long that I don't think they'll get it done quick. But yeah, biofuel producers may very well wait to actually purchase that CI data. You could do it later. You just gotta have it ready when you undergo your audit. And biofuel producers, if you want to get some help offsetting the risk and especially the cash flow issues that happen between the time that you're buying the crop and the time you actually monetize the credits, we do have some financing partners that are interested in talking to step in and offset that risk, and offset that cash flow difference. But yeah, so some biofuel producers may be slower to act than others, but I do think that there is time, or that now we know that farmer, you can only collaborate with the person you're selling the crop to, and ethanol plants, biofuel producers, you can only buy the data from the folks that are selling you the crop. So we gotta come together here and figure out how do we make this work for all of us. And there we go. Current estimate on bushel impact and stuff. So Pat, when I was running my stuff, our total potential value, on our farm, we can move the total value if all the farmers looked like us, we would be able to move the ethanol plant up 4 stair steps, about 20 points of reduction. 20 points of reduction is 4 tiers, with each tier being worth about 10 cents a gallon, or about 30 cents a bushel. So total, like, kind of best case shareable value would be sharing about $1.20 a bushel, with every single farmer contributing to that differently. So there's not a good, here's the kind of value that it can create, because every plant is going to be different. But the long story short, and what we needed to figure out and did today, is that the CI reductions associated with these regen practices does move the needle enough to create some substantial financial value to actually make this program work. That's the key of this. The individual financials for farmers, for the ethanol plants, that will still be sorted out on an individual basis. But the key that we learned today is that the practices do come with some fairly significant CI impact to move the needle financially. So it's a good thing. Will biologicals be an additive to lower CI score? No. There was some direct fight that biologicals should be included. Biologicals are not mentioned in this. However, if you are using a biological and that's helping you with your nutrient efficiencies and you're showing that you're using lower fertilizer and better yields, that is going to move the needle, but you did not get a direct benefit for using biologicals. I think we could stack private payments with 45Z or have to pick. Nick, thank you. They very explicitly said in this, you cannot double count the carbon. Very explicitly, very clear, said you cannot be in a carbon credit program and be in 45Z. I've been saying this from the very beginning, and I'm so glad that I've stuck to that. You cannot be in a carbon program and participate in 45Z. It doesn't say anything about any cost share, nothing. So at this point, everything around getting paid for the practice is fine. You just cannot sell the greenhouse gas outcome and then participate in 45Z. The carbon reduction, the greenhouse gas outcome goes with the crop for 45Z. You cannot stack carbon programs. Cassidy, most biofuel producers don't process soybeans. They purchase soybean oil. So every soybean grower, how does mass balance work? Great question. So farmer growing soybeans, you get your data put together field by field. You get through the verification, and when you sell the beans to a crusher, the crusher buys that CI data and they mass balance the CI score of their oil. And then when they are selling that low carbon soybean oil to a refiner, they have to share those biofuel feedstock reports. So think of it similar to aggregating the data at a grain elevator, who then takes it to an ethanol plant. Same type of concept. So it's the soybean data going to the crusher. The crusher has to undergo the audits and mass balance the data and then pass that along to the refiner. Now, the soybean financial value on a per acre basis is not near as good as corn. Corn is absolutely more incentivized in 45Z, but soybeans absolutely still play a substantial role. I was running our score, and on our side, our total potential shareable value on our corn, or on our soybeans, where we are no-till with cover crop, we're looking at creating a shareable value of about $80 an acre. So I don't know if the farmer gets 20% of that, 30% of that, 50% of that, I don't know, but about $80 an acre. Versus on corn, we could create a shareable value of dang near $300 an acre. Now, again, I'm using low carbon farming practices, so I'm not the average, but by doing some of these practices, there can be some significant financial value created. Will farmers get paid for 2024 corn sold in 25.5? I don't think so. The IRS left that door open, but the problem is because it's mass balance, and a biofuel producer would have to go back and get a significant portion of their 2024 feedstock and get it audited in order to claim it in 2025. I think the only ones that would be able to do that are those that are very close to that next stair step, and those that are utilizing the tax credits themselves, because you can't go back and sell the tax credits. We're too far along the process, but you can generate 2025 credits and you can carry them forward. So if you are a biofuel producer that created these credits in 2025, there's a tiny chance that 2024 feedstock could help you get to that next step. But at this point, I think farmers, 2024, that ship has sailed. For our customers who purchased in 2024, we will follow up with you. Hold tight for right now, and we'll figure out how we take care of you going forward. But at this point, I think we got to focus on crop grown in 25 and focus on crop grown in 26, get that stuff audited, and look forward. The rules have just taken too long. We've heard for years that many farmers think that wheat can be the ultimate cover crop, but if that crop is harvested, does not apply. Is that still the case? So this is saying that you can it says you can harvest the wheat, but I don't think it would count as a cover crop in that case. So I believe that a harvested crop doesn't necessarily count as a cover crop, but it wasn't super clear. So I need to follow back up on that. But and wheat does not get a CI score in this USDA calculator. So that's an issue. But yeah, at this point, I don't know that harvesting your cover crop is going to count. You can graze it, and that's okay. But I guess it all it said is that you can't till it in or remove the residue. So maybe it'll be okay. We'll have to talk to our auditors some more about it. Anonymous person asked about the audits and attestations. Hopefully I answered that. But yes, there are attestations, there are field level audits. That is all the same as before and exactly what we've been doing. Chance of winter canola calculator be developed. I mean, the IRS has indicated that they want winter canola, or I guess they just said canola, but I would think that winter canola and other crops could be added in the future, but they are not there today. And keep in mind, fuel produced with winter canola can still count for 45Z. You just can't count the carbon reductions in how the canola was grown. Okay, it's a key differentiation. Brian, what form of field documentation will be required to generate CI certificates? So it has all kinds of options in there, but it's receipts, it's shape files, it's photos, it's attestations. Basically, you have to supply a piece of evidence. We have all of this in our CI certification program. Our software walks you through the whole thing. That's what we have been investing in. So CI certification, you can go to topsoil.ag and enroll in CI certification. It will help you go through the data collection process, but receipts, shapefiles, those are the main things. Do beans work? Yep, I think we got that. Continuum going to provide any price discovery tools. Thank you, Patrick. Yes, I do think that there's going to have to be some type of a system that we put together where we can display, here's the biofuel producers that we are working with or that are accepting our data, because we've mostly been direct to farmer, hoping that this is going to be book and claim. So we've been working direct to farmer, but we do have a relationship with a lot of ethanol plants. Ethanol plants, if you have a different software, that's totally fine. We just want to be an applicable software, whether we are your preferred or just an applicable software. We just need to be able to get this farmer data from our software into yours and make that as easy as we can. But yes, Patrick, I do anticipate that we are going to have some type of price discovery or at least identifying which biofuel producers are participating and accepting our data. So stay tuned for that. That is still a lot of work to be done in that front, but the farmer data piece is what can start now. Josh, for the upper Midwest, what's been the biggest impact, cover crop or reduced tillage? It looks like cover crop, at least in my neck of the woods, but going between reduced till and no till, that looks like a bigger deal than anticipated. But we'll have to play around with that some more for each specific geography. Do you see allowances for farmers to monetize a better than average yield, even if they don't do a specific practice? Yeah. Yield and nutrient use efficiency is a big deal in here. So before changing your fertilizer practices, it would equate to some points, but I think that is more heavily weighted now. So nutrient efficiency and better yield, better fertilizer efficiency, bigger deal than before. Valero offers sustainability premium, where they had to certify that we produce our corn in an environmentally friendly way. If we certify with them and have been receiving the additional premium, have we disqualified ourselves from receiving the benefit of 45Z? That's ultimately going to be a conversation with Valero. I assume that they have been thinking long-term and thinking holistically about this to make sure that they can pivot into 45Z and not be disqualified. I believe most of what they've been doing is for the Canada market, and I don't know if they have been actually claiming low carbon farming practices or if they are just proving origin. So we'll have to have some conversations there. I need to reach back out to my contacts at Valero to know for sure, but I sure hope that they didn't put them in a position to disqualify themselves and disqualify you. But don't hammer on them too much right now. They've got to read through everything. They got to figure this out. I do encourage you to make sure that you know how, if wherever you're putting your data, whether it be in our software or somebody else's, make sure you know what are they doing with the data, what is the value being created, and how are you, being compensated and whatnot. But a lot of those details to get figured out. Diana put in the chat too. We do have our CI chit chats every Tuesday at 7:45. So if you have more questions, we'll be back on doing a webinar on Tuesday at 7:45 to keep answering your questions. I still have a ton of them on here. I'll keep answering your questions as long as people want to hang out and want to keep asking them. But if you do have to jump here at the hour, hop onto a CI chit chat or reach out to our sales guys. They can walk you through some more of these details. So if sales@continuum.ag or in the chat is the sales line, they're going to be busy. So give us some grace. Be patient with us, but yeah, we would be happy to continue to answer any of your questions or talk about this more. Is there a dollar value per CI point? The dollar value, remember, is at the biofuel producers. As the biofuel producer lowers their score, for each 5 points that they lower their score, they can earn a credit of up to about 10 cents per gallon. So the key is, it is for 5 points of reduction, it's worth 10 cents a gallon, which is about 29 cents a bushel, but that is on a shared amount. So the biofuel producer gets the value. How that works out to the farmer, that is going to be plant by plant, and a lot of detail to be worked out yet. But the point of all of this is we now know that the practices can generate enough CI reduction to make this a carrot worth going after. And I think equitable sharing is going to be important to get max participation and to see if we can get this thing to be extended. What's a 1 point score worth in dollars? Does it change by crop? And then so crop is all definitely going to be different, because when corn's going to ethanol, the industry average is about 2.9 gallons of ethanol per bushel, where for soybeans it's about 1.5 gallons of biodiesel per bushel. So the efficiencies and how the math works, it is different for corn and soybeans. There's more questions here on the value, and again, like, if you are the max best case in all this stuff is the farmer being able to generate for the biofuel producer about, if you can move the score by 4 buckets, that's about $1.20, and the farmer gets a portion of that. But again, they have to do all these calculations and the stair steps. So really, this is going to end up being plant by plant, case by case. But the point being is, if you have low CI scores, you are creating some good value for your biofuel producer. You need to go into topsoil, get your scores. It's going to have to go through the verifications, whether the farmer pays for it or the plant wants to pay for it. Doesn't matter. But yeah, Chris, Kansas. Hey, sorry, I skipped over that. Kansas looks really good, and actually in some more quick assessments, we ran one for Kansas. And Kentucky. Joel, if you're still on, Western Kentucky looking extremely good. They ran with cover crop and no-till. The score was a 4.4, so very good. Very, very good low score in Carlisle County, Western Kentucky. So Kentucky looking good. Michigan also looking good. North Central Indiana, not as amazing as some of the others, but Central Illinois looking good. Iowa looking good. Kansas. So we ran one here with, with cover crop, no-till, 100 units. It's got pretty low scores of 14.8. We had one guy that must be just using manure and not putting on synthetic fertilizer. And his score is a negative 2.6. So lowering your fertilizer and stuff, you can get really low scores in Kansas. So Kansas is looking good. How strong is nitrification inhibitor credit? I haven't played around with it enough, but it did look like it was going to give some decent value. So I do think that this probably is going to be enough value to encourage nitrification inhibitor. Let me just try to run a real quick on oops. So yeah, it's about 3. So it's maybe a 1.5 or so for nitrification inhibitor. Just ran a real quick one, but nitrification inhibitor. So I guess if that is the case, again, I just ran one super quick number. A 1.5 maybe will pay for the cost of the inhibitor, but probably not going to move the needle to get people to add that practice. It's not a big enough carrot. At least, again, I did one super quick assessment, so don't take that as gospel. But nitrification inhibitor, if you're already doing it, that's cool. And if you're selling it, this will be an add-on bonus for farmers that are maybe on the fence. What attestations are required? This actually was laid out extremely clearly in this guide, and I'll go through it quick. It said in the attestation, you have to attest that you do have operational control of this field, that you did do the practices that you claim, that the CI outcome therefore is correct, that you're going to keep records for 5 years, and obviously if it's already in topsoil, there you go, you're welcome. You're not double counting, so you have to attest that you're not in a carbon credit program. If you are going to do no-till or reduced till, you have to do that practice for at least 4 out of 5 years in a rotation. Okay, so if you are going to claim no-till, you can till, but it's only once out of every 5 years. But as long as you are, going to be consistent to that, should be okay. I don't know how they're going to track that. Sidebar, but you got to stick with the practice. You can't have changed this land into crop ground, so no land use change, but it's only from January of 2025. So it's like brand new. If you are just putting land into crop ground, you can't qualify. And then, you're saying that, or you're recognizing that, hey, if you are found fraudulent, this whole thing, it talks about the attestation is the penalty of perjury. And it does say that if you are found to be fraudulent, this is tax fraud. So you could face fines or jail time. You do not want to lie on this stuff. Be conservative. But yeah, we will handle all that. We already handled the attestations before. We're going to be ready to do it again. So again, especially ethanol plants or elevators, we already know how to gather the data, get it third-party verified or third-party audited, verified, the attestations, the traceability. We already have it all done. So literally all of the infrastructure we've been invested in is right in alignment with what's going to be needed here. So ready to roll. Jack, do you expect biofuel plants will be prepared by fall? I think that there might be some early adopters that are saying, hey, we want to start gathering some of this. Maybe I'm speculating, maybe some estimated preliminary payments or something like that in the coming months. I did get reached out to by some ethanol plants here already, which is great. And, basically them saying, hey, we do see that this is going to be good for us. We want to work with the farmers. So, but yeah, I think a lot of these plants are going to need to get geared up here soon. And the key is going to be, if you want low carbon crop grown in 2025 to help you create 2026 credits, you're going to have all that data in and collected before you file your taxes in early 2027. And if the IRS rule doesn't happen until early 27, that window could be too short to pull it all together. That would be the reason to engage with the Continuum, start bringing in farmer data now, start baby stepping into this so that you know that you've got the volume of farmers that you need, and you have the low CI data so that you're ready to go. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some plants that are excited. And if you're talking with your ethanol plant, encourage them to look into this, and encourage them to bring in the data from Continuum Ag, because it's legit. And even if they don't want to use us as their exclusive partner or whatever, that's fine. All they need to do is be able to accept the verified data coming out of Continuum. What are your big concerns on the mass balance for book and claim? Does it change where the game goes? Make it tougher, more expensive? And for livestock, yep. I think I got that answered, but yeah, big concern on livestock guys because of mass balance. What does the biofuel feedstock report include? So that is saying the biofuel feedstock report has the attestation as part of it, as the farm name, the producer name, the county, and the state. And it's all under unique IDs per field, which is exactly how we've already been doing it. So once again, like, man, good job, Continuum Ag. But it has, here is that feedstock CI data. It shows that it has the verification report on it as well. So that has to be included here. But it's the CI data, and that's been verified. And it has the unique field ID. Again, for that traceability, it's everything we've already done with our buddies at Millpond. Does anything change for the biofuel producers other than need to actually buy the grain or certificates? If so, does that influence where I should sell my grain? This is just that the biofuel producers, if they want to utilize low CI grain, they're going to have to buy the grain and the data together from the farmer. So again, 2025 crop, if it's already been sold to an ethanol plant, you can only sell your data to them. They can only buy the data from you. So we better figure out how to work together. If you still have crop in the bin and you want to try to participate in 45Z, you're probably going to want to sell it to an ethanol plant or a biofuel producer or to an elevator, and they're going to sell it. But yes, this is absolutely going to disrupt grain supply. We told government that it would, and now we'll see that play out. Some examples of nitrification inhibitors. There's a list. We'll have to follow up on that, but all kinds of stuff. NSERV, and there. I think there was even some humics and stuff, if I recall, on that list. We have the list somewhere. If you want to send us a note, or we'll get it out there public when it's time for everyone to see. So this is Zoom recorded. Yes. In Indiana, looks good. It looks like no major changes, and we have a bunch of great relationships in Indiana. But yes, this whole thing is being recorded and will be on our YouTube. And we'll be live here soon. Questions keep coming in, which is great. I'm going to keep hammering on them. If you're an ethanol plant, what are the first steps you should take in getting farmer growers started with the auditing process for 2025 corn crop? So if you're an ethanol plant, we already have a lot of anonymized farmer data in your area. I'm happy to share some insights. I never share any individual farmer data. The farmers own their data. But we can share aggregated data, so I can say, hey, around your plant, here's how many bushels we already have. Here's the type of CI scores that we're seeing. Happy to have those conversations. And if I was a plant, I would say, farmers, it looks like we may be able to come to the table together. Go to topsoil and at a minimum, get your CI score and get your data organized. But farmers, in order to be 100% ready, we encourage you to go ahead and get verified through CI certification. We can't guarantee that we'll be able to buy the data because we got to have the IRS rule. Okay, so again, farmers, remember, still need one more thing. But my message if I was an ethanol plant would be, farmers, in order to best position yourself to work with us, we know that we're going to have this verified data. So if you want to move forward and get it verified, we know that Continuum Ag is doing it to the T. And we encourage you to go to their software topsoil, and then when the time is right, we'll buy that data from you. That's what I would do if I was an ethanol plant. And then also I would talk to us, because we have a calculator built out where we can help you model out your score today and show scenarios about the type of financial value that could be gained. So hit me up if you're an ethanol plant, Mitchell@continuum.ag. And if I've been reaching out to you already, I will definitely hit you up. Don't worry. How will the mass balance system work for soybeans? I think we got that. So it's soybeans to the elevator, mass balance it there. Elevator to the crusher, mass balance it there. It's just another step in that chain, but it's all back to the field level. So on the farmer side, it's still all the same field level data, field level verification. Joel, I look at elevator sales to both poultry and to POET. Will they have to keep the ethanol corn bushels separate? No. So that's what mass balance is. Okay, so I should have maybe explained that a little bit more as well. So, and maybe we'll do a webinar more specific on mass balance. But say you're an elevator that buys 1 million bushels of corn. If you have 500,000 bushels with no CI data, 500,000 bushels with CI data, that means then the 500,000 bushels that you brought in with the CI data, you can only sell 500,000 bushels of verified low CI data. You don't get to add in these other 500,000 bushels and sell 1 million bushels now that's verified. It's not how it works. You don't blend these together. You have 500,000 verified coming in, you get 500,000 verified going out. And now the weighted average CI of all those gets updated. So it's not tracked field by field, and that unique CI score from your farm, when it gets sold, it gets aggregated and blended on a mass balance approach there, weighted average. But what would happen is that elevator, whatever they bring in for low CI crop, that's what they can claim as being sold to POET. Whatever they are bringing in that doesn't have CI data, that's the grain that gets sold to into the poultry producers. But they don't have to be in separate bins. They don't have to be channeled separate. It's just the paperwork shows here's how many low carbon bushels we brought in, here's how many low carbon bushels went out, here's how many conventional bushels went in, conventional bushels out. It's just paperwork. Do you have to sell to the ethanol plant to get your 45Z money? Yes. Has to be sold into biofuel. Starting from scratch, what are the first steps to get started? Go to topsoil.ag. It's free. You can start a farm profile. It's free. Take you just a couple minutes. And our guy hit up our sales guys. They will walk you through the whole thing. And you can go on to our website. We got a bunch of info, but it's all field boundaries, data documentation. We have the whole thing built out. You can go to topsoil.ag and get started right now. It's all live and ready to go. What's required to verified yield? It did say that you're going to have to, my understanding is you're going to have your yield that you reported to the FSA office or to your crop insurance agent. And yield is on a dry yield basis. They went overly complex of explaining dry yield. So that was interesting. But dry yield basis, we're collecting the actual yield data. So it did say you got to have yield records and moisture and stuff. And as that data is tracked, moisture is it's already on the scale tickets. So, but on the farmer side, yield data field by field, and but it's what you're reporting to the FSA. That's actually even more important. So it's the yield that you're reporting to the FSA office at the end of the year. That is actually more important than just having your shape files, but we bring in the shape files as well. Greg, what would keep an ethanol company from participating in this? If they don't have enough farmers that are participating in their area, you just got to have volume of farmers because it's a weighted average at the ethanol plant. So you got to have volume. An ethanol plant that maybe already has a super low CI score and they can't get any more 45Z credit, if they're basically already maxed out, they may not want to mess with this anymore. An ethanol plant that thinks that there's not going to be enough value from the farmer side, or that's going to be too complicated, and those are the ones that, hey, we will step in and we will help take care of this for you. We know how to bring on the farmers. We know how to get it verified. We'll handle that for you if you are concerned about the workload, because it is going to be there's a lot of stuff that's got to be collected here, and luckily we're ready. But yeah, some of the ethanol plants may drag their feet just a little bit and not do it right away in year one. Maybe wait to see how it plays out. But hopefully a lot of these plants will get going. Spencer, how does this affect the depot? So at our Topsoil Summit, we announced that there's a new CI certificate marketplace that we're a part of called the Depot. I don't know at this point what's going to happen with the Depot. It likely needs to be a price discovery tool rather than a marketplace, because the crop and the data have to go together. So it's the depot was really, really important under book and claim to connect verified farmers to buyers. But the depot we're working through. But price discovery, traceability, that's all still going to be important. So there may still be a play. Matt, sorry if I missed this. Will aggregators, elevators, or ethanol plants pass along 45Z credit to farmers at delivery? Or how will the actual money make it back to growers versus ethanol producers? Yeah, so every plant is going to have to figure this out for themselves, but I think that it's going to be, right now we're doing a look back essentially. So hopefully there can be, hey, farmers, go get verified, and then once you have your Biofuel Feedstock report done and verified, we'll buy it from you, and it's cash and done. But I do think that because the plant isn't going to know how they shape out on their credit stair step until it's all said and done, I could absolutely see this being a 2-tranche payment system where it's farmer, you're committing to deliver the crop, or you did deliver the crop, and you're committing to deliver your verified CI data once it's been through the audits, and you get a partial payment at that point. And then at the end of the year, when the ethanol plants are done and basically doing distributions, that's when I could see there being a settle up payment. But I don't know. I'm speculating. Every plant is going to have to figure out how do they want to make it work. And again, we do have some folks that have large funds and are interested in providing the liquidity into this market. So I think there'll be some plants that, or some folks that maybe there can be good ongoing cash flow. Others, the cash flow happens when the tax credits get monetized, which is way different timing than when the farming practices occur. Nathan, if a farmer cannot sell their certificates to another farmer who's selling so a farmer cannot sell their certificates to another farmer who's selling only to an ethanol plant. Is that correct? Yeah, that's basically how this would read. What you could maybe do is farmer, you're selling your corn and selling your data to another farmer, and then they are going to mass balance their low carbon corn and your low carbon corn. And now, these farmers are working together, and this new person now owns it. So that's one way that you could transfer it, and then that farmer could transfer it. But at this point, it's not as much like it's not as much like PIC certificates and a book and claim market. It's when the corn gets sold, the data goes with it, and the key is going to be selling it to an ethanol plant. Does it start for year 25 or 26? So we're talking, technically, the IRS had said that this could even apply for crop in 24, but I think that ship has sailed. So we are talking about crop grown in 25 for biofuel produced in 26. And also now we're talking about 26 crop being grown for 27 fuel. And also, of course, you got to be thinking about cover crops this fall, manure this fall, better fertilizer management this fall. We've got to be starting to think about these things here already. So remember, this program is in effect until 2029. So we're starting multiple years. I think I hit on the soybean process a couple times. How granular do different tillage passes get in terms of ranking or scoring? For example, with manure application going by the book, you're supposed to incorporate, does that pass count as tillage? So it explicitly said that fertilizer being injected isn't going to directly count as tillage. So that should be okay. But if you are then doing a tillage pass, that of course will. We document every activity across the field, then we'll help you to make sure it gets categorized the right way. If we sold to Cargill, who supplies to the neighboring ethanol plant, does this qualify? Yep. So Cargill would be the elevator. Cargill has to undergo mass balance, and then Cargill is going to buy your data and then resell it to the ethanol plant. Yes. That would absolutely, as long as they get their stuff together and tell them that you got your CI data over here in topsoil with Continuum, and that they should partner with us, and we'll help them make this work. So Cassidy, for farmers who have already worked with you to certify a score, if they sell to a biofuel plant, does it still count? Yeah. or does everything need to be certified with this new calculator? Do old bushels grandfather? Great stuff. So all of our farmers, hey, we are going to get your, so we haven't verified any of the 2025 crop yet because we've been waiting. So farmers that are with us, that 2024 crop that we already verified, I think, unfortunately for all of us, like all the money we put in, it's gone. We're going to figure out how to take care of you. Okay. We're not going to leave you out to dry. So, but just wait because we got a lot to sort out here. So if you were verified by us and you paid us in 2024, we'll have to have one-on-one conversations with you and figure out how do we take care of you for 2025 and 2026. But yeah, no, I mean, if you already have data in topsoil, now we just have to run this new calculator, make sure that the data and evidence is good, and you're good to go. So we will, everything's got to be re-audited because there's a new calculator. But yeah. How will a ethanol plant being on or off the carbon capture pipeline affect a possible CI premium? Great question, Drew. Thanks for being on here and all of your work. So if an ethanol plant is already on a carbon pipeline, their CI score is already super low. Hopefully they are passing along some of that value with a better basis, and the shareholders are definitely very, very happy right now. But those ethanol plants that already have low CI scores, they don't have as much to gain from low carbon corns. They may need some, but they likely are going to be able to max out this program and therefore only need to buy the data from a more limited percentage of their farmers, or they'll be able to play with the math a little bit for those that have carbon capture. So we'll have to have those conversations with the plants that have carbon capture. They are already monetizing the credits, so they're already very educated in this program. But yeah, they likely will max this out, and the farmers aren't quite as important to them because they already have other levers that they're pulling on. Lauren, is it more or less relevant to whether your ethanol plant is on a pipeline or not? I think we just got that one. So plants that aren't on a pipeline, hey, now the farmers can be a huge asset for you, but anybody can still utilize the low carbon feedstock. It's stackable with that. Hans, the cover crop you are rewarded for is the cover crop preceding the harvest, not the one following that. Yep. So they did define that as well. So it's the cover crop before you plant your cash crop. So if you harvested soybeans, then you plant a cover crop, then you're going to plant the corn. That cover crop goes with the corn. So it's the cover crop that you are planting your corn into. So soybeans, then winter ride, then the corn. The corn would be delivered for the cover crop. You have got it correct, Hans. They did clear that up. So it is from harvest to harvest is a crop year. Okay, so any tillage would go with that corn. So yeah, when you harvest, it's done. It's the practices that occurred before that count towards that crop. It did say that you only get credit for fall or winter planted cover crop. Inter seeded cover crop does not count. Spring seeded cover crop does not count. And it did say that winter kill cover crop could still be eligible. Jeff, what's the potential impact of this for a company like Gevo? I mean, they're sitting great. So they do have a software already that we're in conversation with. We need to be able to help get our farmers from our software, and we API the data over to theirs. But yeah, I mean, Gevo, they're able to capitalize on this just like anybody else. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the plants. So Darren, how will 45Z work for 2025? Corn sold in the spring of 26 to an ethanol plant. You are primo. This is for you. Is there an opportunity for compensation post-sale? Absolutely. So, yes, this is like perfect use case. Number one, you got to be paying attention to this is if you had crop grown in 2025 that you have sold into biofuel production in 26, you are the target for this program. I would encourage you to get on topsoil, get your 2025 CI certification done, but also chat with us, let us know what plant you're working with, and make sure that we are engaging with them so that we know for certain that they will accept your data when the time is right. But yeah, but no, for sure, they're going to need to get that data brought back in. Kind of looking back, it's definitely going to be a little, that's going to be some work. But no, you are in a prime spot if you are selling 2025 crop into 2026 fuel. Can a landlord enter into a soil carbon program and the tenant still participate in 45Z? Oof, I don't think so. I guess this didn't explicitly say that, but it is saying, on that acre that's growing the corn, you can't be in a carbon program and 45Z. So no, no. My answer is no. Through us, there's no way we would allow you through our program, and because we're working with Millpont, who has carbon credit programs in it as well, and as CI, that'll absolutely be flagged in our program. We would not take on the risk from our side of getting caught. That very much would be against the rules. So no, if that acre is in a carbon credit program, cannot be in 45Z. When I run a calculator, one field no-till in Minnesota says score of around 1,700 with 6-7% reduction. How does this translate into what you use? Okay. Good job. You are beating us to it, this anonymous person. So what you got to do is the score on this new calculator is in grams per bushel. The scores that I talked about, what's important for 45Z, is kilograms per MMBTU. So you got to take the score on there divided by 219.7839. Is how you do it. I probably shouldn't have said that. Should have said talk to us, but that's all right. So, but no, there's a calculation. That's why topsoil is important. We do the calculations for you. But hit us up. We're happy to walk you through the scenarios. But yes, the scores are all per bushel, and then there's a unit conversion into the units for 45Z. Are there credits for manure? Yes. Manure gets value, which is fantastic because it was forgotten about before. Manure is in. Is it more or less relevant to whether your ethanol plant is on the pipeline or not? Yes. Matt, I'm in Southwest Missouri. All corn goes to livestock, and I have an ADM biodiesel plant close by. What chance would you give ADM for participating in 45Z? Yeah, ADM on those beans, very high chance, and they already have a software. They've been collecting this stuff. The corn going to livestock, that's the problem with this being mass balance, is you'd have to not go to livestock on the corn. But no, I would chat with your ADM plant saying, hey, don't hammer on them right now, but just let them know, hey, I am interested in participating in a 45Z program on my soybeans. Put me on the list, and let's have a conversation when they're ready. Keith, can you tell us more on the nutrient efficiency impact? What is improving NUE by 0.1? I kind of talked some of that, but definitely does look good. It's all so nuanced, but you can move the needle by multiple points by reducing your synthetic nitrogen. We were running somewhere, they were sometimes even 5-6 points. So significant improvements based on nutrient efficiencies. And they expect that congressional level to make these efforts codified. It already is. That was already taken care of. That's part of the big, beautiful bill. This is in law until 2029. What we need now is the IRS to write the final rule and include the USDA language that we're talking about today. Nothing needed in Congress. Yep, this presentation will be on YouTube if anyone wants to see it, and we'll be emailing all kinds of stuff out. It's starting default score for elevators before payments are initiated. So the elevator, they would have maybe some management type scores that they would have to add in, but theirs, it's just all the corn that they're buying as a default score of 27.4, and you gotta get as many low carbon bushels in there, and those ones get mass balanced together. All of the low carbon crop that you can bring in, you got to get all the data. So that's why partner with somebody like us will help you to get all that data in, get it verified, because you got to go gather all of this data from your farmers, and we'll help you do it. What do you see as possibilities in southeast Nebraska, the ethanol sites? Yeah, Mike, you're in a great spot. The ethanol plants should be, that now they need IRS rules, so they may not be, they're not going to be writing checks next week. It's not going to happen. But now they know that the intent is there. The farmers will be brought to the table, and it's only mass balance. So it's if you delivered to the ethanol plant or can deliver to the ethanol plant, they're the only ones you can sell the data to. Ethanol plant, if they're going to play ball, they can only buy the data from the folks who sold them the corn. So we got to work together here. We got to model this out, figure out how the financials are going to work, and then roll this out. And yeah, thank you for the congrats. This has been a long time coming. Luckily, I've got good hair genetics, or else I'm sure I would have a lot of gray hair by now. CFR 2100 looks like it hasn't been updated since last January. We'll be sharing the official documentation to determine the biofuel feedstock report requirements, attestation details. I don't see this on the USDA documents. It is out there. So this document is live. If you search the technical guidelines for the production of regenerative agricultural biofuel feedstocks, you will see the details that I'm referring to today. What should a farmer do if they already contracted grain to a non-biofuel supply chain? This is where it gets really tricky. I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity to get that back, basically buy that grain back, because you haven't sold your data yet, and maybe be able to resell. It gets really funky. So let's have a conversation about it. Figure out if it's going to be worth it, or you already sold the crop, and now it's you already sold the crop, and now we got to look forward. And all of my corn from last year is sitting in the bin, and man, it would have been really nice to, have that cash. But I've been sitting on it because I was worried that it was going to go mass balance, and but not everyone's been able to do that. And at this point, it's you sold it, or if you were in a carbon program, you did it. And all we can do is look forward. But there may be some opportunities, so hit us up. Happy to talk some opportunities. But how granular do the tillage practices get? For example, does manure incorporation count as tillage? No. So it says manure or fertilizer injection or strip till does not count. But ultimately, we have to run this new disc calculator. I'd never even heard of it before today. So ultimately, we got to come back. Checking my CI score requires a paid topsoil count. No. Running your base CI score is free, but remember, this calculator just came out today, so your score on topsoil is with the old calculator. We got to get this updated one in there. But again, scores are relatively similar, and we'll let you know. But running your CI score on topsoil, totally free. Getting verified, getting through the audits and stuff. That's what we charge. That's what we charge for. Is the tillage weighted? And then if you do a 3 out of 5, 1 out of 5. So this, what this says is, and this is where there's still some details. So it says, it talked about the crop rotation and whatnot. And what I got to better understand is if you are doing tillage ahead of corn, but no till on the beans, is that okay? And it gave an example where it was like, if you were doing corn and then harvesting the corn and then doing soybeans right after, and you were tilled on the corn and no till on the soybeans, then the whole crop, that crop unit would have the tillage. But that was saying double crop corn and beans in the same year, which in, I don't know, just about all of the US, that doesn't happen. In Brazil, of course, yeah, that's totally different. Soybeans, then they do the ofrenda crop, but here, or sofrenda, whatever. But no, I think my understanding of this, I believe it's going to be, on that crop year. But it did say if you're going to claim no-till, you got to do it no-till at least 4 out of 5 years. If you're going to be reduced till, you got to do it at least 4 out of 5 years. So we got to. It's going to be a little tricky. We got to work with our auditors on making sure we get that right. So I go into a co-op who sells to many different ethanol plants, feed mills. How would that play out? Yeah, so what they're going to do is that co-op, they bring in a low carbon crop on a mass balance. So say they end up buying 1 million bushels of low carbon crop, they can sell 1 million bushels of low carbon crop. They can sell part of it to these guys, part of it to these guys, part of it to these guys, but those 1 million bushels now have a weighted average CI score from all the fields that went into that million bushels. They can't sell more than 1 million bushels because they only bought 1 million bushels of low CI crop. But yeah, they can split it out and sell it, shop it around at different ethanol plants, no problem. Emily, did you say we can collect 25 grain already delivered if sold to ethanol plants participating? Yeah, that's going to be the number one thing. Now, the ethanol plant, again, they're not going to be ready right yet, and some of them, maybe they're not going to do it, and I don't blame them. But ethanol plants, we would love to talk to you and evaluate if utilizing 2025 low carbon crop is going to be good for you. We can model all this out, but yes, if you're selling your 2025 crop into biofuel, that is where the opportunity is at. Who's doing the mass balancing? Continuum? No. The folks that are buying the data, they mass balance it. Our software can help with that and the traceability stuff, but no, I mean, that's just simple weighted average accounting. That part's really, it's not near as big of a deal. But we can help to collect all that data, spit out the reports, and there you go. I mean, that component then from there is way easier. Collecting and auditing the data, that's the hard part. But did you say significant difference between corn acre versus soybean acre using the same farm practices? Yeah, way different. And it's because the credit is on a per gallon basis. You produce twice as many gallons of ethanol per bushel as biodiesel on a per bushel of soybeans. And then, of course, the production per acre between these two. So when you're looking at the gallons of biodiesel that can be produced on an acre of soybeans versus the gallons of ethanol produced on an acre of corn, it makes the math way different between the two, and it is absolutely going to incentivize corn being produced. What's our mass balance process? So we work with Millpont. So all of the biofuel feedstock reports, the CI data, get posted on Millpont. When that data gets sold, those certificates can be associated with the scale tickets and whatever software the elevator or the ethanol plant wants to use. It's simple math at that point. So we'll work with each of the plants and the elevators on that. Is potash figured in the equation or nitrogen only? So potash is not directly included on the CI score, but it does say that you have to document all of your nutrient applications, have a nutrient plan and everything. So we are going to need to document all of your fertilizer applications and every pass across the field, but only nitrogen goes into the score. So therefore, you got to document how much potash, and MAP and DAP, or MAP and DAP of course have some nitrogen, but you got to document how much potash you're using, but the amount that you use no longer impacts your score. How do I account for my first year corn acres that are no-till versus corn on corn, which is conventional? This is all field by field, so no worries. This is field by field, and actually what you can do is your conventional corn, that's corn on corn, tilled. If you want, don't even get that verified, or let's run your score and see if it's worth it. That corn, you may just sell as regular conventional corn and only score and verify the corn that's going to have the low CI score. But this will absolutely encourage crop rotation and cover crops and no-till. But this is all field by field. What's the credit stair step? This is a whole super complicated, a whole another hour deal. And I do have some material on this, but at the ethanol plant, their CI score gets rounded to the nearest multiple of 5. And so the 45Z program itself is not linear. The ethanol plant, their total CI score gets rounded to the nearest multiple of 5. And that's where the stair step comes in. But it makes it so that I can't really answer the financial questions without a lot of question marks behind it on the farmer side. We need to finish marketing our 25 bushels only to ethanol. Chad, you are correct, my friend. And yes, we need to catch up and have a chat here. But yes, your 25 bushels, sell them to ethanol only if you want to participate. Is it safe to assume 45Z is mutually exclusive with Equip? It mentions nothing in there about ineligibility there. Equip or pay for practice is fine, but you cannot double count the carbon. So cost share plus 45Z, you're good. 45Z plus a carbon program, no go. Last one here. Oh, there's the full rule from. Thank you for putting that in there. And Joel, we got yours on all the stuff. So, all right, we did it. Thanks for all the people that are still hanging out too. We had an awesome, huge crowd here today. Thanks for hopping on short notice. Hit us up to go through this in more detail. Be patient with us. That we are a small team here. We're going to need to get some more people hired on. Exciting times ahead. So, thanks to everybody. And yeah, thanks everyone for sticking in there with us. Let's go make this thing happen. So, have a good one. We'll catch you on the chit chat on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Thanks.